Welcome back to Lemmings! We're now gonna tackle the second of the 4 difficulty settings of the game, Tricky! However, unlike what its name suggests, things are not gonna be quite tricky yet. There's gonna be a build-up once again as to how difficult things are gonna get, and the first level really starts off in an easy way. This should be a doddle, yes it is. But what is a doddle anyway? I have no clue. Either way, what I'm going at is that this is not a hard level in the slightest. Honestly, this level is easier than most of the levels that we ended up playing in the last video, so if you went through the fun difficulty, you'll see that there's nothing challenging here. Maybe this level will be hard if you didn't know what the skills will do or anything, and even then, this is probably a level that you will be able to beat, so I guess that's why it's the first level of this difficulty, so that you have a fighting chance just in the likelihood that you didn't play the easy levels yet, but why will you go to the second difficulty right away? Just go through the game in the order that the designer suggested you to do. Yep, you totally stormed that level, but I'm pretty sure that a dead turtle could haste this level. Oh, this level again? Yep. Welcome to We All Fall Down, the second in a series of 4 levels. This is a level that will crop in every difficulty of the game, but every single time we had 20 more lemmings to save, alongside with giving you 20 more diggers in order to pull off the solution. It's as simple as it gets, and honestly, after this one level, you'll already be sick and bored of this level, because there's close to no changes between any of the iterations of this level. Here, you're gonna have to increase the release rate a bit because you might run the difficulty, or the risk, shall I say, of running out of time. It's not gonna happen, at least not on this one version of the level. I think if you keep the release rate to 1, you will finish the level while having only like 2 or 3 seconds left. But yeah, whenever we'll get to taxing and the 60 lemmings and then mayhem, which will have 80 lemmings, you're gonna have no choice but to increase the release rate, because it's not gonna cut it. Because of course the other levels are also gonna give you only 3 minutes in order to pull it off. Besides, I think you probably will fall asleep if you just decided to play this level with only the release rate of 1, so I really do not recommend this. But hey, at least I gotta say kudos for getting this level out of the way really quick, because yeah, at least we're pretty much getting all the pain and suffering out of the picture immediately. Here, things have almost been complicated because we had to scroll the screen a bit, but yeah, and overall it's not much harder than the fun variant of this level, it's just more tedious. Oh, a ladder will be handy. It will be handy, but it will necessarily be a thing that you need in order to finish this level. With that said, it's definitely the easy way in order to finish this level. So here we have a level that finally offers a little bit more challenge. It's definitely trickier than the other level that we played, and by that I mean this should be a doddle, because in my regard, We All Fall Down do not exist, or at least I wished it didn't exist. So this level is pretty straightforward. You just float down on the broken bridge, and then you start building a ladder to the other side. You cannot build a ladder from the other part of the island or something, because you're gonna hit the top of the screen, and when this happens, you're just gonna stop building, and besides, even if you could keep building all the way up and the screen will scroll vertically and everything, you still wouldn't do it because your lemmings will just die upon getting on the other side of the island. So that's the way in order to do it. And you dig the tunnel in order to allow your other lemmings to get all the way down here. So let's skip forward a little bit in order to just finish building this bridge. I didn't want to skip it right away because I kind of wanted to leave the music because, well, I don't know, for some reason this is a song that just ended up playing into another yet eventless level. I'm talking about level 16 fun. Don't do anything too hasty. The other level in fun where you had to build a huge long bridge and then do nothing else. So at least we got to hear the music. Oh, here's one I prepared earlier. This level name is kind of a reference to the way that the designers of the game made the levels for the game. They will start by making the harder levels, and then later on they will go back and make easier versions of these levels by making it so that you don't have to rescue as many lemmings, and finally you give more skills. I mean, just look at that, you have 40 of every skill here. How are you going to run out of anything here? It's just not gonna happen. The main trick of this level is that there's some part of the landscape that can be a little bit hazardous to navigate because you don't know. I mean, you probably could end up building into some other place and then your lemmings might splat when reaching them. This is probably the most notable bit, the one part where we started building. It's kind of crucial that you start building as low as possible in order to make the landing as safe as possible. But on the flip side, if you do that, you also run a high risk of the lemming falling in the water because there is not a whole lot of ground on which you can stand on. So that's probably the hardest bit of this level. Other than that, you just build your bridges in a merry-go-happy way. And yeah, the reason why I dug a tunnel over here in the mountain was to prevent the climber from going all the way over the top of the mountain and then go back to the beginning and drown in the water. I want to save all of my lemmings, or at least the one that I didn't make a blocker. Other than that, this is a pretty chill level. It's a pretty lengthy level, but it's definitely a little bit shorter than you think. I mean, you have 8 minutes here, but we're only about 2 minutes in and the entire way leading to the end is already over. So don't think as if this is gonna be a long time investment and everything. And especially whenever you have a fast forward button which will allow us to zoom all the way across to the end. That was definitely one of my gripes with the other versions of the game, because sometimes it can be lengthy to get all the way to the exit like that, so I'm kinda glad that it's much more self-explanatory. Oh, Careless clicking cost lives. This is a pretty weird reference to have into a game that is pretty cutesy and innocent. This is a line that references World War II propaganda slogan, which was like, "Careless talk costs life," but here it's the careless clicking. This level is mainly tricky because this is probably the one level in the game where you're going to have to start huddling over your keyboard in order to have quick access to your hotkeys in order to repeatedly switch skills, because you have to act really fast in order to switch between basher to builder like that, so you don't have a whole lot of time, so the easiest way is just to click. There's no big penalty if you fail, but it's gonna be a little bit more inconvenient to dig out of there if you fall into the fence. And if you decide to go all together down here, you might even run the risk of running out of either bashers or miners or something, so the easiest path is on top of here by alternating between your builders and your bashers. Speaking of builders, yeah, let's speed this little guy up right here, just in order to get our bridge ready the fastest. Getting our bridge ready the fastest, yes, it's a race. We're here in order to make sure that this one lemming will build a bridge faster than... Yeah, I'm not too sure, so whatever I was going with this, I have absolutely no clue. But yeah, as you can tell, the tricky difficulty right now is simply a continuation of the learning experiences that you've had in fun, but you have slightly more demanding levels here. And sometimes you get levels that are a little bit more creative, like this one. I really like this level. I usually tend to be a fan of levels that involve a very tiny number of lemmings, because usually you always get some neat solutions based around them. We had a demonstration of that in level 26 Fun, the one level where we had to stall lemmings, and this is yet another pretty fun level that has many ways in order to solve it, and feels also kind of clever at the same time. Honestly, the work that you have to do in this one level is pretty minimalistic. So you can give a floater here in order to survive this fall because it's too big to just do it normally, but you can also skip this entire process by mining down, because you will then cut off enough of ground in order to make it so that your lemmings will survive without any kind of floaters. But once that it's all done, once all bridges are ready, just make everybody an athlete and they will make it to the way. Yeah, we only needed to build 2 bridges despite all of these little crevices and everything. Also, I like that you have 20 climbers and floaters even though you only have 5 lemmings, so you better give umbrellas until the pockets of your lemming just overflow. Been there, seen it, done it. I've seen all of the pillars and I am a mighty lemming, or a mighty rodent, or a mighty man. Whatever you want it to be. So the one reason why I didn't put in a blocker here was because it definitely was a little bit too close to the ramp and I did not want to blow it up the second that I will blow up the blocker in order to let all of my other lemmings through. So we're gonna send in 1 lone lemming in order to prepare the path for everyone. It's another basic Trailblazer lemming level where 1 lemming does all the work and when everybody else just walks around mentoring what else to do with their lives in the meantime. Also, the level name is just a reference to that good old Latin saying, which is Veni Vidi Vici. I've been there, I saw it, and I conquered it. I conquered all of the pillars by building over them and then eventually digging, because this is probably the easiest way to finish a level, in order to let your lemmings on the lower platform all the way to the left where the exit is. You could also build there, but the thing is, it's gonna be way too big of a drop and then you'd have to turn your lemming into another direction and build another ramp in order to catch the lemmings, and right here you can tell that there's not a whole lot of space to work with, so here's the easiest way in order to get to ground level. You just dig down the pillar over here, and while he's digging, let's say hello to all of our other buddies. So while you're digging, you also must make sure that there's gonna be little stepping stones that will allow your lemmings to survive the fall all the way down here, because otherwise they're all gonna die. Just because this digger is making it all the way here doesn't mean the others will be able to do so. This portion here is a little bit trickier because you need to be ready to make your lemming build as soon as the tunnel is ready to go, but you don't really have a huge penalty for doing it too early. You're just gonna bang your head on the ceiling and the lemming will turn the other way, and then you'll try again whenever he'll be closer to the edge. Otherwise, nothing too drastic here, so you still have enough skills in order to manage if you mess things up. Oh boy, if this is a lemming sanctuary, I do not want to see what the hell of the lemmings look like, because it's gonna be a really horrible place. So yeah, this level kinda meddles around with the you get 20 of every skill here. You get 50 builders, 20 blockers, and then nothing else, so we just send in... Okay, I was gonna say you just send in 1 lead lemming in order to do all the work, but my fingers and reaction skills decided otherwise. I almost feel like somebody was just being handed a drink and couldn't just grab it in time because of my reaction time being way too slow. Or maybe I just wanted to wait too long in order to try to make the lemming build as close to the edge as possible, because if you do that, you're able to clear this gap with only 1 builder, but it's pretty tricky to do so. With that said, however, this is something that you'll have to do later on when we'll revisit this level. Oh yeah, that's right, because We All Fall Down is not the only level of the game that we'll revisit. We're gonna revisit pretty much almost every level that we played so far, except they're gonna be much, much harder. They're gonna be back in this difficulty level, on Taxing, Mayhem, all other difficulties. It's gonna be a big reunion and everybody's gonna be invited. The big trick to this level is that you must set up your blockers in such a way so that you don't end up impeding your progress too much, because you cannot blow them up. So if you're building a ramp, you better not put a blocker over there, because you severely jeopardize your possibility to win this level, because you're not gonna have any way to bypass your blockers. Speaking of, we probably could free all of our lemmings, because there's nothing which can keep them here. So it's time to demonstrate a pretty neat feature of the game. We're gonna build out of here, but notice how come the builder is just changing directions every single time he's hitting the blockers. Yeah, look at that. You don't even need to have several lemmings in order to make a spiral staircase. If you sandwich a lemming between blockers, he can do that automatically, because when the builder is gonna run into a blocker while building, he's gonna keep building with the same builder, but he'll turn back and then he'll use his remaining bricks in order to build in the other direction. So this can have some interesting results into some levels of the game. Other than the you can blow up blockers, claws and whatever, this is a pretty self-explanatory level. You don't really have any means or reason to fail because you run out of builders, because you got 50 of them. You could maybe fail this level in the Genesis version because you only had 20 builders, I think, but this is not the Genesis version that we're playing here. It's the good old PC Amiga Windows 95 something version. Yeah, this version is going places, also hooray for clicking the wrong lemming. Whenever I play these levels, I will refrain from using the ability that allows you to assign a skill to a lemming that goes into a certain direction, because that was not how the Amiga and the original PC version was, but come on, it's too big of a commodity to let it go by, but I kinda try to play lemmings the good old school way. With that said, all of these old versions of Lemmings are missing so many commodities, and that's pretty much why I have to use these modern fan versions in order to play the game, because they make it so much more enjoyable. So level 9, they just keep on coming. Also, disregard the horror here. I definitely did not fail this level off camera. Absolutely not. In the first half of Tricky, this is a really neat level, because this is a level that clearly offers two ways in order to get to the end, and even then, this is a level that offers a lot of different ways in order to accomplish your goal. I'm gonna do a playthrough for both of the paths, but keep in mind, this is definitely something that you could do something like 5 different times, and you could come up with different ways of pulling it off. So there's nothing that stops you here. Just do whatever you feel is right. So the two paths that are offered for you is the left and right. We're gonna start with the right path because, well, this one is kind of a pain in the ass. It's shorter, but it's much more complicated to do, and I usually never take it, so... Oh, oops. Alright, we definitely had a bad start here, so yeah, might as well just show off the good old patented way of relieving stress by blowing everything up. This is probably one of the greatest features to appear in any game whatsoever. Things are not going your way? Blow up everyone! And in the meantime, you get to see what the horror is good for. Yep, it's the instant replay. Now we can see everything that we've done up to this point, which means that whenever you play trickier levels of the game, you don't have to repeat everything all of the time. You just watch all of the things that you previously done, and then you take control whenever you want to finally alter the course of the event that you finally unleash. All in all, a very practical thing. I'm pretty sure that the first Lemming game that introduced this feature was 3D Lemmings. Honestly, it was a pretty mediocre game, but it introduced a lot of features, I think, that really benefited the Lemmings franchise. Like the action replay, which I think it's probably the best thing that happened to the series, and you also had much finer control as well over your Lemmings, because you didn't need to rely on pixel perfection and stuff. Oh no! I clicked on the Lemming as he was falling down, and I couldn't assign him the builder because of how the terrain was shaped. Oh my god. And yeah, I'm not too sure what I even did here. I should have assigned a climber here, not a builder. The bridge is not ready. You need to stop! No! Oh my goodness, things are going south. Oh my... Yep, alright, we need pause. Okay, alright. Are we still good? We need to save 70 out of 75 Lemmings to win. Okay, we have 2 blockers left and there's 72 Lemmings. Okay, I did not deserve a victory here because... What the fuck? That was so messy. Sometimes Lemmings are not the problem, it's the person who controls them and assigns them the skills. So yeah, that was a very eventful adventure leading all the way to the right of the level. So let's just chill out and let's replay the level again, but this time we're gonna take the easier path which goes to the left. With that said, this path might be a little bit more hazardous to you because it's more time consuming, because you have a longer way to walk and there are several more actions that you have to pull off. For instance, you're gonna have to build a bridge in order to soften your lemmings fall because they're not gonna be able to survive this drop, and it's not as if you can assign floaters to everyone because you only have 20 of them. Also, I never quite got the reasoning behind this one-way wall, because how else are you gonna dig through this wall? By going there through the right? Why would you even do this to begin with? That will imply that you went to the right path of the level to begin with, and there's no reason to be here then. Okay, it's not the most elegant bridge, but that will do, or at least it will do whenever I'll put in the last couple of bricks. Also, the more that I think about it, the more this one-way wall is completely useless because there's a way to dig under it, so even if it was pointing the other side, it will be totally useless. So what is the point of that? Holy shit, there's really no reason for that to be here at all. Also, I think the one slope leading to this one pit here is a little bit less treacherous than the one on the right, so by all means, this is way easier to go over here than on the left, but it took us way longer to make it through. And who knows, whenever we'll see this level again, we may not have the required tool in order to pull off a solution which is as simple as this. But hey, as the saying goes, or at least the title of this level goes, they just keep on coming. They cannot be stopped, they cannot be reasoned with, you just gotta guide them to the exit. Oh, and here's a pretty interesting level in order to close up this update. There's a lot of them about, and they're everywhere because they have two different trapdoors at opposite ends of the level, so welcome to your multitasking tutorial, because you're gonna have to be able to do everything all at once in order to succeed here. So we're gonna need to send in Trailblazer Lemmings on both sides of the level, which is what we just achieved. Whenever you're setting up your blocker, it's important that you leave one Lemming be so that he'll be able to ready the path later. But once all of the frantic beginning of this level is done, then the rest of the level is easy. You don't even need to do both sides at once. You can just work at one side at a time and everything will be fine. But if you wait too long and all of your Lemmings are out, after you're finished clearing a path leading to one of the exits, then you'll get to the other half of the level and the entire place is gonna be sprawling with Lemmings, so it's gonna be much harder to isolate them in order to only have one Lemming going forward in order to prepare a path. So by doing this, you're gonna be making your life a living hell, because it's not as if you have a huge margin of error here with the rescue rate. You have 100 Lemmings, we have 4 blockers that we need to use in order to contain everybody else, and we need to save 94, so that means you only have 2 spare casualties. So if you bunch up too many of your Lemmings together in a really messy way, you're gonna fail the level. So all in all, this is a much trickier level than it looks. You definitely need to be at the top of your game at the beginning of the level, because otherwise you're gonna make things so much harder on yourself. But with some decent multitasking, this level is fairly simple. And that'll be it for this update, so yeah, that definitely will be an interesting headache. I mean, I'm usually in the habit of storing acid in my attic and have my entire house melt or something, so stay tuned. Next update, we're gonna play more tricky levels.